What are the primary drivers for organizations considering nearshore outsourcing in Latin America, particularly in the technology field?
It's probably the question I get asked the most, honestly, with our clients and partners. There's some obvious things that apply to both Virtual Latino's business and Proactivity. But in the technology space, there's some specific things, right? And traditionally, outsourcing in the technology field it's been very much associated with outsourcing to the subcontinent, right? And we all know that that's a plus 12, 14, 16-hour time difference. And whilst you'd think it's relatively new that Latin America has grown in the technology space, it's actually been around for quite a while. We go back as far as 1997 when Microsoft themselves did this for the first time, and they brought talent from Latin America and Costa Rica, and they connected that with their operations in here in Seattle, in the Redmond area. And so it's not new, but it is new to a lot of organizations, particularly. And the key driver, I guess, the first thing is obviously proximity and time zone. The geographical time zone proximity is obvious, but it's most important because the way that businesses now want to build their technology solutions, the way they want to support them. Traditionally, back in the olden days, back when I started my career, it was very much a certain type of work. You would structure your business requirements, you would give them to your vendor to build you software, and this process would go on for 1-2 years. That's not how software and data applications are built anymore. So having people in the same time zone is super critical. Integrate them into your teams, integrate them into your agile Scrum processes every day. Feels like they're 5,000 miles away or 5 miles away, feels the same. And this has, of course, been heavily exacerbated by the pandemic, right? And but funnily enough, the Latin markets have actually been working remotely for a lot longer than that, and a lot longer than the continental US, right? It's been an ongoing thing. So they're actually, very mature in working in technology environments, and so that's been a huge thing. Now, I'd say just on top of that, bringing this to small and medium businesses is what we spend a lot of time doing, is the big differentiator. Traditional outsourcing has been for large organizations, right? And our ability to bring this in very flexible models to small and medium businesses, that's a huge thing, right? Especially for organizations that actually can't afford to do this can't afford the flexible models that maybe an onshore provider brings, right? Or a typical professional services firm, right? And so our ability to do that has just opened up a market for a talent market and a capability market that was unaffordable or reachable previously, right? And so, we find ourselves doing that with a lot of small and medium enterprises that can't hire in the continental US, right? And we're enabling them to have flexible models, integrate people quickly into their teams, and have access to a very large talent market. It's incredibly large, the talent market. We're engaged in about 8 countries right now, our talent, and there's a good 3 or 4 more that we could touch. So that's probably the biggest primary drivers for organizations is flexible engagement, right? Where they don't have to necessarily rely on an FTE hire if that's too risky for them in their current growth pattern. Work in a time zone so they don't have to follow CMMI processes, old-fashioned processes, right? They can be agile and flexible. And then, of course, access talent at a cost that they can actually afford, right? So opening up to non-profits, public sector, right, that are normally quite heavily constrained, as well as giving startups the ability to access talent when they need it, how they need it, and not waiting on, long hiring scales. So they're the 3 kind of areas that we see the most, and that's how we help our clients the most, for sure, especially in the tech space.